There is a gigantic amount of money being pumped into the financial markets by the Fed, which is creating and injecting a $20 billion into the markets every single month. On top of that, the Treasury Department has a bank account with more than $1 trillion in it, and it plans to spend all that money over the next few months. All this liquidity is likely to put more upward pressure on the price of stock, property, gold, and other asset classes. Richard Duncan is the author of The Dollar Crisis: Causes, Consequences, Chaos. He says that there is a liquidity tsunami pouring into markets. Fortunes are going to be made on either side depending on who wins out. The Fed is creating a $20 billion every month, and they are using that newly created money to buy bonds and pumping it into the markets. So it's been fascinating for all of us to watch. At this point, just since 2007, the Fed has expanded the amount of money it created by 8 times since 2007, and the government debt in the United States has tripled since the crisis since the end of 2007. No one had envisioned, but now we have to pay attention to how much money is being created because it affects asset prices, the stock market, gold prices, and all the other asset classes. And the other thing that we have to keep an eye on is all of this money printing and all of this government debt going to lead to the high rates of inflation, because that could be very damaging to the asset prices. On the bullish side, there is so much new money being created and pumped into the financial markets every single day that should drive the asset prices, stock prices, and gold prices higher. But on the other side, the bearish side, there are now worries that inflation is going to pick up. And if inflation picks up, then interest rates will move up. If the interest rates move up, then that's bad for the stock market. There's a liquidity tsunami pouring into the markets. But on the other side, there are concerns that inflation is going up. In addition to the Fed creating money, the government is borrowing a great deal of the money that the Fed creates and then sending out $1,400 checks to most Americans, many of whom are then taking that money and punting it through Robinhood into the most speculative stocks imaginable, causing more asset price inflation. What the Fed did in 2007 is they had very large government budget deficits to stimulate the economy by running up the government debt. The Fed created $3.5 trillion between 2008 and 14 to help finance about a third of that new government debt. And that's the path they chose, because in 2007 that reflated the economy and prevented a new Great Depression. So when the pandemic hits this time, they did the same thing that they did back in 2007. They have had enormous government budget deficits. The government last year increased its debt by about $5 trillion, somewhere between 20 and 25%. The Fed has also created something like $3.5 trillion again just over the last year. That's about to set a big economic boom in the United States. They expect the GDP, the economy, to grow by somewhere between 6, 7 or even 8% this year. Now talking about Japan, Richard said that Japan's very big economic bubble developed in the 1970s and in 1980s. It was incredible to see Japan in the late 1980s. There was just money, money and money everywhere on the streets. The property prices were astronomical. The stock market was trading 100 times PE multiple. And then in 1990, that bubble popped. To prevent a depression year after year, the Japanese government has had these extraordinarily large government budget deficits. The Bank of Japan has been creating enormous amounts of money. Since then, the government debt in Japan has gone up from 60% of Japan's GDP up to now it's 270% of the GDP. While in the US, it seems to be something like 125% of GDP. Japan has their debt to GDP is more than twice as high as us. They were where we are now in 1999. So that gives us some idea of how long this could potentially go on in America. We don't know when it's going to blow up in Japan. Japan hasn't had any economic growth to speak of since 1990, but they are quite prosperous there. They were because they developed so much before 1990 that they still have a very high standard of living. And of course, now it's difficult for Japan to grow because their population is shrinking. So they have managed to keep their bubble from collapsing into a Great Depression now for 30 years. On his views about America's economy, Richard said that there's no turning back because we have moved from an economic system that was based on just investment and savings. That was capitalism. We have moved from that system into a new economic system that is creditism because it's driven by credit creation and consumption. And now our economic system must have credit growth to prevent it from collapsing. If credit doesn't grow, then the economy collapses into a depression. So the government has to ensure that credit keeps expanding every single year, one way or the other. But they have grown credit without growing the production. For a while, it was focused on growing credit by making house prices inflate and making Americans richer by taking equity out of their homes. But it doesn't need to be that way. They could grow a credit by the government borrowing the money and investing with the private sector and joint venture companies to invest in the productive ventures and the industries of the future that would turbocharge economic growth and productivity. But they haven't done that yet, but they may be moving in that direction soon. That seems to be we are beginning to shift into a new paradigm where the government does play a bigger role in things like not only stimulating the economy through the pandemic, but now building up infrastructure on a very large scale. Nearly 10 million fewer Americans have jobs than 1 year ago, and that's why the government has felt it's so important to send out these large stimulus checks to support people so that they don't lose their homes and go hungry. And meanwhile, the Fed is saying at every opportunity that they are going to continue to pump money into the economy for as long as it takes until all of these 10 million Americans have jobs back again, because they believe that until all of these people are fully employed, they don't think there's going to be any significant inflation in the United States, because there's going to be a tick up in inflation pretty soon, and in April because last year prices were falling. So when you compare last year with this year, remember last year oil was minus $40 a barrel. So of course, when you look at this year compared to last year, there will be inflation in April, but until commodity prices, there will be inflation. But until you get these people back to work, what matters for inflation is wage price inflation. Until wages start going up, you don't get sustained inflation in a country. And wages are not going to go up in the US until these 10 million people have jobs again. Even when they had their jobs a year ago, the unemployment rate was at a 50-year low of 3.5%, and inflation was still very low. So even if these 10 million people would get their jobs back, it's still not certain. There's going to be high rates of inflation because we not only buy things from the Americans now, but we buy things from the entire world. So guys, if you found this video really informative, then please make sure to convert that like button into blue. Also subscribe to our channel for more beautiful videos. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, enjoy your day.